the Difference Maker Chats. Thank you for joining us. I have found this topic so enthralling. It's about happiness. And I want to thank JoAnna Brandi for joining us and to talk about happiness. We've had several discussions on happiness, and every topic that we've talked about, it is amazing to me, just like the bees, about how it leads into how structurally important it is to business and how it aligns. And today we're going to be talking to JoAnna Brandi about a very, very important topic, and that is, how would you like to be famous?
Yeah.
And I think everybody, whether they want to say it or not say it, they do. And JoAnna Brandi's here today to talk to us. And JoAnna has been in the happiness industry for many, many years. She's an inspirational leader. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about her background and how she got involved. Could you share?
I would love to. I've spent the last 27 years teaching customer experience. I was, when I wanted to leave my corporate job, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I literally called my clients and said, I'm itching to do something on my own. What do I do well? I didn't know that in positive psychology that's called a best self exercise, but who knew? So I actually talked to these people and I said, what do I do really well? And they said, you take care of your customers better than anybody else in the industry does. Why don't you figure out how to teach people that? Well, easier said than done, but that is what I set off to do. So for 27 years, I've been teaching people how to take better care of their customers and employees. And 12 years ago, I became a happiness coach, studying with Dr. Martin Seligman, who is the founding father of positive psychology. And I have to tell you, I haven't been the same since.
That's awesome.
I changed my happiness set point. I raised my happiness set point.
And you've really set the bar for what that means. You've changed terminologies.
Yes.
You say, I mean, there's actually scientific results, and there's certifications for this. I mean,
yes,
I mean, I don't think that people understand that how important of a business decision it is when you fully engage.
Yeah, well, and happiness is a science now. It's a science, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it really, how a leader thinks and how a leader shows up is so important to the happiness of the culture, to the climate. 30% of a company's financial performance comes from the climate at work. And 50 to 70% of how people perceive the climate comes from the actions of the leaders.
Say that again.
Yeah, 50 to 70% of how people perceive the climate at work comes from the actions, not the words, comes from the actions of the leaders. You see, people are always watching you. When you're a leader, you're always being watched. People are always watching you. Now, I didn't realize this until I was a leader, and I brought my daughter, used to bring my daughter to work. We lived in a community that had a lot of school holidays, and I couldn't always afford to get a sitter, let's put it that way, and sometimes just didn't choose to get a sitter. And as my daughter got older, I brought her to work with me. So this was a particular week that she was off from school, and I brought her to the office and I taught her how to file, you know, and there were lots of little things that she could do at the age of 13. And so the week was over. We're home sitting at the kitchen table one day, and I'm bitching about something. I'm, whining about something that's going on with my staff. And this little girl pipes up and she said, "You don't get it." I said, "I don't get what?" She said, "Those people look to you for guidance. That you're their leader. They don't want to be your friend. And what I hear you saying is that you want to be included, you want to be part of it." And she looked at me, here I am the mom, or at least I thought so, and she's telling me that I better just understand what my role is, because they see everything I do. And I was like, wow, out of the mouth of babes. Mm-hmm. So leaders are always broadcasting something. This is what I've come to understand now after all this study. So we need to think about, what are we broadcasting? There's an electromagnetic field. You're right in my field, Mary. Mm-hmm. There's an electromagnetic field around our body. And all of our emotions get broadcast out, and you know this, we call them vibes. So a leader that's preoccupied, let's say, with the budgets and the spreadsheets and the presentation that he or she has to do when they get in the office, walk in the office and they're not looking at their people, they're not smiling. and they're broadcasting stress, or they're broadcasting worry, or they're broadcasting something other than a positive emotion. And people feel that. We're always broadcasting something. So I began, when I started writing my Positive Energizer program, really there's several units that just focus on what do you want to be famous for? How do you want to be seen? How do you want to be known? How do you want people to experience you? Because if you don't do that consciously, whatever's running around in your mind is going to be the vibe that's broadcasting from your body. And people very often perceive you as being negative when you're not really. Because when a leader is focused, and this I've discovered, I've been a consultant for so many years, I've been in and out of so many companies. When a leader is really focused, he or she doesn't always look happy because their face is kind of scrunched up. And you know, people are perceiving us not only by the energy, but by our facial expression. So what I recommend for all my leaders is they check what they're broadcasting before they walk in the building.
So what is the leadership presence like?
Well, leadership presence can be anything you want it to be. So you can be a kind leader, you can be a powerful leader, you can be a focused leader, you can be a confident leader, you can be all of the above. But what I want people to do is be conscious about the kind of leader. I mean, I want to vibrate radiance. I want to be radiantly positive. Now, some people may not want that because that's not their style. Maybe someone wants to be subtly positive. Maybe someone's presence is inclusive. I'm guessing that your leadership presence is very inclusive. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Yeah. Because we can really read that in people. So if people can read us as leaders, as my then 13-year-old daughter taught me, if people can read us at least, what do we want? It's as if you're writing a book. What is it that you want to show to people about you? So that's what I mean by leadership. How do you show up? Is it deliberate? Is it focused? Or is it, oh, I'm just here today, I didn't sleep well last night, and blah, blah, blah.
So you really kind of have to be a master at kind of spotting people and their strengths, right?
You have to, yes. And that, in a culture that is as negative as ours is, where we're looking at everything that everybody's doing wrong, you have to insulate yourself from that. And you have to ask that question over and over again. What are her strengths? What are his strengths? One of the easiest ways to find out someone's strengths is to engage them in a conversation about something that they're proud of.
Okay.
So you can even do this with your children at night, sitting around the table. Instead of saying, how was school today? You can say, so what'd you do today that made you feel proud? I think there's even a song like that. I was in the gym last week, and that song started playing. I actually stopped what I was doing to make myself a note on my iPhone that I should start playing that when I come out on stage, because that's really what is, when you feel at your best, you want to show up that way. You want more of that. So when we begin to listen with a new set of ears, not listen to see what we're going to say next, not listen patiently just waiting for that person to shut up so we can put our 2 cents in, but when we really begin to listen for someone's strengths and they're telling us a story about something they're proud of, it's so easy to hear. And then, this is the next step, give some, I call it 5-star feedback, give them some feedback on what you just heard. So acknowledge what you heard, appreciate out loud to them what you just heard. You can affirm how wonderful that is and how it contributes to the mission. So you constantly want to be listening for people's strengths and then feeding it back to them in a positive feedback loop, because they're going to go away feeling better. And when we focus on their strengths, their performance goes up somewhere around 36%. And when we focus on their weaknesses, not so much. It actually goes down.
So are there some positivity practices that you can recommend?
Well, the first one was check what you're broadcasting.
Okay.
I mean, that's my favorite positivity practice for a leader, because I think most of us are semi-unconscious about that. So that first one is sit in the car before, or however you get to work. Don't go in the building until you are in a state of positivity. Quickest way to get there, take your right hand, put it on your heart, which immediately starts the flow of oxytocin in your body. Slow your breath down a little bit and think about something you appreciate. So I would say to you, Mary, before you come in, put your hand on your heart and think about the cutest little dog you own. Look at you,
There's
you
a lot
laughed
of 'em.
immediately. I know, but don't you love thinking about your dogs, your pups, your little ones, right? So that immediately puts you in a state of positivity. Now walk into the office because now you're glowing in a different way than if you've been thinking about, oh my gosh, I got to do all this filming today. Oh my gosh, I'm right. You know how we think 60,000 thoughts a day, and the estimates are that they're not all positive. Let's put it that way, because we're constantly thinking.
You had mentioned to me that when people are getting ready for work in the morning, there's probably some things that they can do versus thinking of all the things that they have to get ready for.
Yeah.
Some happiness things that maybe some things that they could do as a checklist for themselves.
They can do the checklist for themselves. I include that in the gratitude practice. I think a gratitude practice is really important for everyone. So I think when you go into work, to think about the things about work, to think about the people at work that you really appreciate. You know, how they make your life easier as a leader, how they add to the success of the company, how they add to the success of the mission. I think it's all tied together, and the more that you focus on that, and then the other leadership practice I think is really important is set an intention. How do you want to be today?
That's a good point.
You know, there have been a few people who push back when I say, what do you want to be famous for? But I'm not talking about fame. You know,
right.
What do you want to be known for? So one of the questions I ask when I mentioned, I think before, that I work with a lot of CEOs and a lot of top executives. One of the ways that I get them to introduce themselves is to ask this question. When someone leaves your presence, how do you want them to feel?
Right.
When someone's finished with that interaction with you, as they walk away, what is it you want them to be feeling? That's what I mean about leadership presence.
That's a good point.
You want them to feel good, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And some people
And you're the ambassador for that company, that nonprofit.
Absolutely.
For that,
Absolutely.
yes. Right.
Absolutely. And some people struggle over that question. And here's the thing I hear the most. I never thought about that before. Right. What if you did?
It's a great point.
Yeah.
JoAnna, thank you so much for coming for us today. Is there any suggestions as to if people would like to get in touch with you, or they would like to be able
absolutely. My pleasure. I'd love to get people to get in touch with you.
Thank you.
That'd be great. ReturnOnHappiness.com is the main website. ReturnOnHappiness.com/happyplace. And you can learn 12 things that you can do as a leader to create a happier culture in your company. And at positiveenergizer.com, you can find an e-course that covers all of these very, very well in kind of a fun, do-it-yourself, learn on your own fashion.
That's great. Thank you so much again for coming and helping us be difference makers. We appreciate it. Thank you.